Hello, welcome back. We're at the Precious Metal Summit in Zurich, and I'm with Sam Pazuki, the CEO of Matador Mining. Sam, very good to see you again.
Peter, good to see you again.
Obviously, just for those who may have missed our interview before or haven't come across the company, give us a very brief overview to start with.
Yeah, so Matador Mining is an ASX issuer, Australian company, but exploring in Newfoundland, which is in Canada, and you would think a mature area, but it's fairly new in terms of a gold exploration. We're sitting on one of the largest land packages on the same structure that hosts Marathon Gold's 5 million ounces, plus another property called Hermitage. So we've got a resource, one of only 4 companies on the island that has a resource, and we're looking to make big discoveries.
Good, okay. One of the things we should probably dive into straight away, because it is relatively new, is obviously the capital raising that you've just completed, oversubscribed, and fairly backed by some big names, big institutions.
Right.
Just give us a bit of a summary as to the financing, if you don't mind.
Sure, yeah, no, we're very pleased with how the financing's gone. As you mentioned, oversubscribed financing, strong support from existing shareholders, strong support from B2 Gold. We were successful in bringing in new investors as well, too. So we added 4 new institutional funds, one from the UK, a massive resource fund, 2 from Asia, and 1 from Canada. So now with the completion of this financing, we've got our top 11 shareholders being institution or B2 Gold. So very strong support from global institutional investors plus B2 Gold. And it just speaks to the quality of what we have, and it speaks to the strong institutional support there that still exists for exploration companies like Matador.
Yeah, because it's funny, we've spoken to a few companies, and obviously you get a bit of a pulse when you're at these type of conferences, and it's not the best market in the world. And I'm talking to a lot of fund managers at the moment, and they're up in their market cap criteria, they're up in their liquidity criteria, and it seems like you've sort of bulldozed through that. You're now 50% institutionally held for what in many ways is a greenfield exploration story. And I was sort of wondering how or why do you think institutions have sort of gathered around you and are really supporting you and supporting the story?
I believe they see what I saw when I first joined Matador. We've got a district scale land package that gives you the opportunity to not just have one multi-million ounce deposit, but a series of them along this belt that's relatively underexplored. The structure is the same structure as what hosts Marathon's 5 million ounces. We use a systematic approach to exploration, which most exploration companies in Canada don't use.
Yeah.
You know, we do bottom of hole sampling, base to till sampling. There's only one other company in Canada that I know that does it. That technique has led to major discoveries globally. You know, Rupert Resources and Ickery. In Western Australia, there's been a series of discoveries made through base to till bottom of hole sampling. So it's our approach to exploration. It's a team we have on the ground. You look at our board of directors, we've got people who've made big discoveries in their careers, who have created enormous shareholder value for investors. And so you bring that all together, Matador is something that people should be paying attention to. And these institutions have recognized that their hard earned capital is being deployed into a company that is going to be responsible with how it gets deployed and how it gets allocated. I think we're the only exploration company that ever has used the words return on investment, and that's something that we're going to continue to use and deploy in terms of how we allocate capital and make decisions.
Well, let's explore that further. Obviously, what are the use of proceeds? How are you going to be returning capital to investor, or at least returning the investment in terms of what's the best method to really either find discoveries or add more ounces at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I've been here for 18 months,
yeah.
And it's great to have the land package that we have. I mean, that's going to lead to multiple discoveries. That's the theory, that's the hope, and that's the plan. But it's a double-edged sword. You have to ensure that you're not trying to spread yourself too thin. Otherwise, you lose your focus and you blow your brains out, and the next company comes in on the ground that you're currently exploring on.
Yeah.
So you have to use that systematic approach to exploration. And in the last 18 months, we've done a lot of sort of field work, or we've done a lot of desktop work, a lot of analysis to come up with new ideas and new targets. We've basically structured our program to look like a pipeline, basically, a pipeline of opportunities. And so we have 3 main categories. We've got advanced stage. So we've worked up targets that they're ready to go to be diamond drilled, because that's the expensive bit of exploration that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And then while that's happening, where you're diamond drilling your targets, your advanced targets, you've got intermediate targets, which we're using our RC drill rig to do their bottom hole base to till sampling, do some advanced geophysics, and work those targets up to advanced. And while that's happening, you've got your early stage stuff. So you're doing your prospecting, you're doing your early stage geophysics, geochemistry, and you're working up these targets to get into the next category. And what we're looking for is multi-million ounce deposits. So when we go and drill, diamond drill an advanced target, if it doesn't have the signature for MOZ, we're going to walk away.
Yep.
And so you got to think of it like a pipeline, like a conveyor belt. As things come off, things will come on. And so in terms of the use of proceeds specifically, much of the capital is going to be allocated to the first bucket. But we're going to be, again, allocating capital to advancing that pipeline along and generating the highest risk-adjusted return that we can for investors.
Good. Yeah, I wouldn't mind, because obviously, and perhaps I'll actually share an image now of your lime package, because you've got around 9 different licenses within your licenses. And if you geologically, there are a couple, or at least most of them, that look like phenomenal targets that everyone probably looking at it would love you to go and drill right now and see what's there. But what are the priorities at the moment? Where are those advanced targets that you were talking about that you're ready to go and drill? And where's some of the intermediate stuff that you're excited about?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, 9 different names on the map. And if you think of it this way, there's a junior company would have just one of those and spend 5 to 10 years exploring just the one. And in each one of those are massive land areas, they're land packages. And we've got 9 of them. There's junior companies right now in Newfoundland that have something similar to one, maybe something smaller, and their market cap is 15 million or 20 million.
Yeah.
Right? We've got 9 of these in the portfolio. And there are specific key attributes for each one of those that we believe has the potential to host multi-million ounce deposits. Right? So if we floated 9 different companies out of this thing, multiplied it by 15, right? That's the potential that we see just from an exploration perspective.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, it's a lot of ground for us to cover. So we've got to use this approach to exploration that I mentioned. We've got to, look at advanced, intermediate, and early stage. So the advanced targets right now is actually a return to where we've got the resource. When I joined Matador 18 months ago, I just thought there's been so many companies that have explored this area, and what more are we going to be able to discover? And what we've learned, and what I've learned specifically in the last 12 months, is that all the companies prior to Matador, including Matador, drilled the resource. They didn't actually step out. And even the resource corridor is a massive area. It's about, from one end to the other, it's about 20 kilometers.
Wow.
And so much of that drilling has actually been focused on where there's the deposit, because it's the same story over and over again. There's gold, and you've got a bit of capital, so you drill it because you're going to get a result. You take that result, you market it to get more capital, and you just keep going until the money runs out.
Yeah.
Right? Every company has done it that way. But through the work we've done in the last 12 months, we've actually identified areas that have never seen a drill hole in this massive area. And so again, we're looking for big footprints that are going to host multi-million ounce deposits. So we're going to drill out into the footwall, which has never been drilled before. We're going to drill along strike central zone, both up to the north and also to the south, which has never been drilled before. They're going to look for extensions, real step outs to Window Glass Hill. So there are all these brand new targets that we have that have never been explored on before. Plus, I mentioned previously we had Brett Davis come in. He's challenged 30 years of geological theory on the Cape Ray Shear. He's said the gold has come at a different time. It's based on a different event. So we're layering on those targets, which are across the belt, but more specifically in the resource corridor. And we're going to be doing work on areas that have no one's ever believed to host gold.
I was going to ask you actually, how much of an influence has Brett and the team at B2 Gold had on reshaping your thoughts around the main resource area?
Oh, a huge impact, right? Invaluable insights to what we're doing. I enjoy collaboration. There are people in this world that have made big discoveries, and we have a bunch of them on our board. We've got a bunch of them at B2 Gold, and then there's Brett. And Brett he's a freelancer, is a free agent. He's considered a structural geological guru globally, and a lot of companies are seeking his services. So he's in high demand, and we were very fortunate to have him on site for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So again, I like collaboration. I want people to come in with different perspectives, to test and challenge theories that have existed for a number of years, and that's how you make discoveries. It's through brain power. It's not and luck,
Yeah.
but it's through a coordinated effort to.
Well, I think you're right, because obviously, like you were saying, with such a large land package, you have to be ruthless in a way. You can't be a typical geologist and get very caught up on one asset that you love, and you get obsessed with that one area, and you just want to prove your theory. This is really a mathematical problem of going about this in a systematic way, and you're doing the right thing in that respect. You mentioning collaboration. Just up the road from you, obviously, there's I think it's 4 million ounces, or is it 5 million ounces now?
Yes.
5 million ounce Marathon Gold Valentine Lake project that's actually just been acquired. What does that do for the region in general, and what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's probably the most important project right now for the gold industry in Newfoundland.
Yeah.
They were actually, Marathon was in a similar place that we are currently in. They had 500,000 ounces. That resource had been there for 10 years. Then they decided, this is around 2015, they decided to start stepping out away from that resource. That's when they started to tag into their big deposits.
Yeah.
And their resource grew exponentially. And so they're the most advanced. They're in construction right now. From their last update, they're about halfway through it. So we need them to be successful. We want them to be successful, and we're looking for what they have. Calibre it's a highly successful mid-tier. I mean, they've taken Nicaraguan assets that B2 used to own, and they've generated very strong free cash flows from that. And they've used that in a responsible way to grow the business and create shareholder value. So to have a company like that now on the island further legitimizes what Marathon has as a project, legitimizes Newfoundland as a jurisdiction, and we welcome them with open arms, and we look forward to engaging with them.
What's because I believe B2 Gold still have a position in Calibre, don't they? There's about 30%.
That's right.
So B2 Gold now Newfoundland is turning into quite an important jurisdiction for them.
Yeah, I mean, B2, they're obviously very successful business people. They've created enormous shareholder wealth through BMA and B2. They're very smart. We've had a great relationship with them. We continue to have a great relationship with them. They were a big supporter of our recent financing. They're very smart guys. They see the opportunity and the potential of Newfoundland. They see the potential of the belt. There's 90 companies in Newfoundland looking for some sort of mineral, and they chose Matador, right? For all the reasons why I joined Matador. We have a district scale potential on the same structure that hosts 5 million ounces. Calibre, they own 30% of Calibre now. That, assuming that transaction goes through, they're going to own the biggest project in Newfoundland on the same structure that we're on. And yeah, B2 has a foothold into us, and they have a foothold into Calibre. So they're in the right jurisdiction in a province in Canada that is relatively new when it comes to gold exploration.
Okay. How else can we? Because I think we've discussed in the past this project project generator type model, where obviously we were talking about the 9 different licenses there. There could be an opportunity, I guess, for JV on particular licenses, or to get some help, not just from B2, but from other mid-tier majors that see the potential here as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we're open to different structures, different opportunities. As we've just mentioned, I mean, it's a massive land package, and you can get lost in it. So we got to be focused. We got to be realistic with what we can do, given that we're a small company and capital is not infinite. So we would certainly entertain the opportunity to joint venture, 1 or 2 of these projects that we've got within the portfolio. I often tell investors, I'd rather have 50% of something than 100% of nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of exploration companies end up with nothing because they want to do it all themselves.
Yep.
Or they lose focus. They go to areas that they just fall in love with, and then spend a lot of capital, then they run out of capital, and they haven't found anything. So for us, again, we want to preserve value within the business. We've got the land package to deliver that value. We just have to have the means to get there. And having the right shareholders is a key part of that. Having the right team is a key part of that. Having the right approach to exploration is part of that. We also have to think strategically from a corporate perspective on what we can do and what we should do to further unlock value for shareholders.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, what talk us through the next 12 months, talk us through 2024. Obviously, a lot of drilling, a lot of advancing of targets. What are your main priorities?
Yeah, I mean, the last 18 months has been reconnaissance time. We don't actually know where the fire is. So you put a few holes into here to test structures. You do your other exploration work, use your systematic approach. And we basically have gold in basement over a 60-kilometer stretch now. So that's what we've delineated in the last 18 months. We got 60 kilometers where we've got gold here, and then gold in between. So we need to figure out where that fire is, right? Again, I look at the map, I see smoke. We've got to see where that fire is being sourced from. The other thing that we've been working on is how do we get to explore all year round?
Yeah.
Not just during the nice weather months. It's how can we do it all year round? There are a couple months you want to avoid throughout the year. Just the weather is too hostile for us to do any meaningful work to generate that return on investment. But the plan is to get back out there in January and do bottom of hole base to till sampling through malachite, which we've identified the breakout structure as a key target. Some of the external experts that we just talked about have characterized it as a boissy, which is a 60 million ounce deposit. So we're going to do some work there in January, maybe potentially do some diamond drilling within the resource corridor. And then once the winter melts and the snow melts and runs off and the weather it gets back to good conditions, then we'll go and do some diamond drilling through the spring and summer. And again, just continue to work up that pipeline and do work all year round.
Just to wrap this up, obviously we've spoken about the Cape Ray Shear mostly throughout this, but we haven't really touched on Hermitage. What's the latest on the ground there, and what's your plans progressing Hermitage moving forward?
Yeah, so Hermitage is just like a lot of the other opportunities we have. I mean, it's an exciting opportunity that we have. It's a different structure. It's the Hermitage flexure, which is a structure geologically very similar to what you'd see in Bendigo, Fosterville, so in the Victorian goldfields, which is obviously a prolific gold region. So Hermitage, what we've done there, again, it's a big area, it's remote. We don't want to rush into things too quickly. A lot of companies, they tend to go in with a drill rig prematurely, and they drill and they don't hit anything, and they walk away from something that potentially could host big deposits. Hermitage, we think, has all the key ingredients to hosting a massive mineral deposit. It's the largest antimony arsenic anomaly in Newfoundland. What we've done there in the last year is prospecting, which is a very Canadian approach to exploration. So we're trying to cover as much ground as we can, sort of cast a wide net just to see what we're seeing. And then based on results that we get back from that style of exploration, we do more focused prospecting. And again, this is all early stage stuff that you're working up to identify targets that you can then follow up with bottom of hole base till sampling. So in 2022, we covered some of the central part of the Hermitage property. In phase 1 of 2023, we covered the west end part of the property. More recently, we just announced results from the east end of the property as phase 2 prospecting. And we basically have anomalous gold across the entire belt. And again, this is 27 kilometers by 10 kilometers. We've confirmed that gold is associated with arsenic. We've confirmed that gold is associated with antimony. We're seeing visible stibnite in the rocks. And again, these are the similar characteristics that you see in Fosterville and Bendigo.
Yeah.
We also, based on all the sort of geological events that have taken place, we think that this is an area that's completely blown out, which is what you're looking for, where gold fluids can go and just pool up and be deposited.
Yeah.
So it's still a very early stage. We're going to follow up with more prospecting in the spring. We can't prospect in the winter. And then work up those targets so that we can get a RC drill rig in there, hopefully this time next year, and we can do some bottom hole sampling of targets that we've identified. But we're seeing all sorts of incredible things at Hermitage, and we're super excited about that.
Good. No, it's yeah, I don't know what project to be more excited about, but I'm looking forward to following it. Sam, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Peter. Thanks.